So me and my wife went up to Tofino for the Labor Day weekend to celebrate my birthday, and it's this beautiful spot up in British Columbia. And that's saying something because British Columbia as a whole is a pretty stunning place. I would highly recommend if you ever make it out to Canada or the Pacific Northwest to check it out. So while we were there, I had a lot of time to just reflect on life and think about these past 38 years. And one of the realizations that I had is a bit heavy, but something that I feel convicted about and want to share. And it's this idea that I don't think I've been living out my calling. And further, I got to this place where I believe that if you don't honor your calling, you suffer as a result of it. In the story of Jonah, one of the big takeaways is that Jonah suffers as a result of not following his calling. I think that can hold true for us. I think that we can also suffer as a result of not following our calling. I think oftentimes when we talk about calling or we talk about passions or things that we should pursue, we tend to think of it or talk about it, I feel, more from a positive light. That if you pursue this, then these good things will happen. But I feel like we maybe don't talk about if you don't pursue this, these bad things are going to happen. We kind of don't flip it to see what are the perils or what are the pitfalls of not pursuing something. And maybe that's because it's kind of abstract, um, and it could be kind of subtle in the way that you suffer. But I think it's very much there. And just to be clear, this is not an idea of my own. This is something that I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about. But I've felt perhaps in the last year or so that it to be true in my case. For me, and I've said this before, as time goes on, I feel that I'm meant to create. And I haven't been doing that. And I feel like there has been a cost to that. And so you might be asking, like, in what way are you suffering? Like, aren't you being kind of dramatic? Using that kind of language, what does that suffering look like? Now, I certainly have been swallowed up by a big fish like Jonah. In that sense, Jonah is in a league of his own. But I do think that suffering could take on a more commonplace form. That suffering could look like regret of having passed up on an opportunity. It could look like the hopelessness of being in a position that you don't want to be in, that you've been stuck in for years. It could be as real as being stuck in a 9 to 5 that you don't want to be in. It could look like a sense of misery, a lack of vitality, because you're not doing that thing that's meant to nourish you. And in doing that, you are kind of withering away, and life doesn't have that kind of spark or that excitement that kind of gets you up out of bed in the morning. I think these are the kind of suffering that could be operating underneath when we don't honor our calling. I mention all those because I feel like those have all been true for me over, let's say, the past 20 years. I felt like I've suffered in those kinds of ways. So if any of this resonates with you, I just want to encourage you to kind of nudge you on the shoulder and be like, do that thing, do what you're meant to pursue, and don't wait to honor that calling because I think there is a real cost to it. And I don't know if that gets talked about enough. And I wonder if more people kind of knew that, if it would move the needle a little bit to get them to where they need to go. And so I hope that encourages you. And until next time, peace.